Hello there, everybody. Charles Hammaker here with you, circling Seattle sports. We are back with a futures follow-up episode. It's been a while. It's been a long time, but I apologize for that. We had our struggles this past few weeks with CSS on Converge, but that's no excuse. We need to be better. I need to be better, and we will be. I have to set the tone, and I will set the tone. So we're moving forward. It's a lot of hockey lately with futures follow-up. Obviously, the Mariners minor league teams aren't in action. The soccer teams that we covered, Tacoma Defiance, Ballard FC, are not currently in action. We do have some Ballard FC stuff coming up for you, though. So we'll work on that. It's mostly the Kraken, AHL, and ECHL affiliates, and the major junior teams in the near area. There are other major junior teams in the state of Washington that we don't cover because they're not in the Seattle area, and that would be even more work than we already do. So we will start as we do, or as we have, with the AHL affiliate of the Kraken, the Coachella Valley Firebirds, and not the easiest start to the year for the Firebirds. That continued on the 21st of November with a shutout, ugly loss to the Ontario Reign, a 0-6 loss. In shutouts here, certainly in South Sports, we don't tend to highlight a player of the game, and that was the case here. It's unfortunate. Very, very ugly loss to Ontario. The Firebirds were celebrating were they had their theme night hockey fights cancer. They were wearing their special jerseys in the warm-ups. Because it's the AHL, it's not the NHL, they can do that, and they were doing that in this photo here by Mike Zatek. Thank you, Mike. You can see the cool numbers there. Obviously, that lavender purple color. All of these jerseys were auctioned off for charity. Obviously, you wouldn't wanted them to win, so on and so forth. On November 25th, though, the team does get a bounce back win on the road at Bakersfield, beating the Condors by a score of 4-2. Our player of the game is forward Tucker Robinson, 1 goal, 1 shot. Robertson, pardon me, 1 plus minus. It's his first goal at the AHL level. He was with the Firebirds earlier this season. We'll talk about Tucker here in a minute because his story is interesting. But just to go over those 2 games for the Firebirds, it's been tough when you look at this Firebirds team. I know I talk about the Kraken and their consistent inconsistency, but the Firebirds as well. I mean, they kind of start and stop and go. And with their offense, obviously they've had to deal with kind of feeding a few forwards up to the NHL level with the Kraken, and there's a lot of them to talk about this week. But most of that group is there. Usually they're only without one guy at a certain period of time. For a long time, it was Devin Shore this season, a good amount of time, pardon me. So it'll be very interesting to see uh, if this team can kind of flatten out those issues and be more consistent here. It was nice to see them get that win over Bakersfield, get the first 2 goals of the game. Shane Wright scores in this game. Tucker gets on the board. Bakersfield does kind of come back there, but the Firebirds are able to stamp that one out, stamp any sort of comeback out, and get that 4th goal to put that one away. So I talked about team notes. There are a lot of team notes. So November 20th, the team did recall forward Tucker Robertson from ECHL affiliate Kansas City Mavericks. Robertson had been with the Firebirds to begin the year. Out of Kraken training camp, he went to the Firebirds, but he wasn't getting any ice time. I apologize. Saying we have mic issues. Let me fix that. Nope, seems fine. Okay. Robertson wasn't getting any ice time. There were some questions. What's he doing? Send him down to ECHL. Send him back to Peterborough. Some Pete's fans really wanted to see him back in Peterborough. But eventually he did get sent down to the ECHL. With the Mavericks in 8 games he played, he had 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points, and a 2 plus minus at the time of his call-up. He gets that goal there against Bakersfield, which is nice to see. He's a talented offensive forward, uses his body well, so it'll be nice to see him throughout the rest of the year. But certainly an interesting beginning of the AHL/ECHL season for Tucker Robertson. I keep trying to say Robinson. It's Robertson. On the 21st, the team recalled goaltender Jack LaFontaine back from the ECHL Mavericks because the same day, goaltender Chris Drieger had been recalled by the Seattle Kraken. And so this won't be a necessary order, but we'll show you. It says back and forth because on the 27th, LaFontaine was reassigned back to the Mavericks because Drieger came back. Drieger also up and down. On the 25th, he was reassigned to the Firebirds by the Kraken after not getting any game action backing up Joy Decord as Philip Grubauer suffered an injury in the team's November 20th loss to the Calgary Flames. He should be getting the start tonight in Chicago for the Kraken. This one is in order. On the 23rd, forward John Hayden was suspended for 1 game after he received an instigating penalty and a game misconduct in the third period of the loss to the Ontario Reign. He did miss that win over Bakersfield, but is back now. He should be back for tomorrow's game. Another guy that's been up and down, Andrew Podorowski, on the 23rd. He was reassigned to the team from the NHL Seattle Kraken. He was a healthy scratch here. There was maybe a thought that he would get some game action with the Kraken. It didn't end up happening. He does come back to Coachella Valley 4 days later. On the 27th, he is recalled by the Kraken and will be slotting into the lineup tonight for Seattle. A lineup move that happened this morning, the 28th. Marian Studenic was recalled by the Kraken, and I imagine he'll be a healthy scratch tonight. But with Brendan Tanev out, Oliver Bjorkstrand suffered an injury, but he seems fine. So it seems like Studenic might be insurance there. The Firebirds sit at a 9-win, 6-loss record for 18 points on the season. They are currently sitting at 7th place in the Pacific Division and 10th in the Western Conference of the American Hockey League. Their next games include November 29th versus the San Jose Barracuda at a 7 p.m. puck drop at Acrisure Arena. Then on the first game of December, they will get a rematch against the Ontario Reign in Ontario. This is 7 o'clock puck drop on the road there. And then they will come home for the second game of a back-to-back versus Ontario December 2nd with a 6 p.m. puck drop against Ontario there. We go down to the ECHL affiliate of the Kraken with the Mavericks, and I won't go too much in the team notes because we've kind of already explained them since they relate to each other. Kansas City started out really, really hot to begin the season and have kind of cooled off a little bit. They had that unbeaten streak. They've only lost 4 games out of 17, but largely have cooled off, especially over the past week. They played 3 games over the past week, the first of which against the Tulsa Oilers on November 22nd. That was a 2-3 loss. Our player of the game forward, Patrick Curry. Curry, 1 goal, a 1+- and 5 shots in that loss. They would get 2 days between their next game. November 24th versus the Wichita Thunder at home. This was a 5-2 win, a nice 5-2 win. Our player of the game forward, Luke Saturno. Saturno, 2 assists, 1+- and 1 shot on the day. They would play. That was the first of a back-to-back against Wichita at home. The next game, they would lose to the Thunder by a score of 4-6. Our player of the game forward, Cade Borchardt, 2 assists, a 1+- and 1 shot. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned about the Mavericks. They started out hot. They've also kind of been dealing with the up and the downs here. As I mentioned, on the 20th, Tucker Robertson went back up. LaFontaine's been up and down. He came back down. What was interesting, though, when we get to team-related notes, was that the Firebirds, the Mavericks made a trade, and it involves a former Firebird. On the 27th, the team traded for forward David Cotton. Cotton from the Florida Everblades, pardon me. So Kansas City received David Cotton. He was a one-time Firebird. He played 2 games with Coachella Valley back in 2022 before being traded in December that year to San Diego, the San Diego Gulls, for future considerations. He's 26 years old. He's appeared in more than 100 career AHL games across his 4-year pro career, playing 7 games with Florida so far this season, in which he's tallied 2 assists, 2 points, a 7+-, a -7+-, pardon me, in those games. He was originally drafted by Carolina and the Hurricanes. So interesting here. In return for trading Cotton to Kansas City, the Florida Everblades received the rights to defenseman Jordan Sambrook. So interesting there to see the Mavericks make a move. They do have a strong record. They sit at 13 wins, 4 losses for 26 points. They are second in the Mountain Division and second in the Western Conference of the ECHL. Looking ahead, they've got a 3-game slate Next closest, November 29th at the Worcester Railers, a 7:05 a.m. Pacific time puck drop. You heard me right. 7:05 a.m., 10:05 for them. Then they continue on the road with the first of a back-to-back against the Maine Mariners. That December 1st game is 4:15 p.m. Pacific time for the puck drop, and then December 2nd versus the Mariners is a 3 p.m. Pacific time puck drop. So from there, we will have our Kraken prospect segment. Obviously, there are Kraken prospects throughout the hockey world that aren't necessarily with an affiliate team, whether it be the ECHL team or the AHL team. And what we've got for you over the past week on November 22nd, Jagger Firkus was named as the 48th player out of 50 in TSN's top 50 players under 24 to watch. He is the only current CHL player on the list, and arguably for good reason. A lot of these guys are with respective affiliates, whether it be in the AHL or currently in the NHL. But Fergus has been continuing to tear things up. He continues to lead the WHL in points, in goals. He's not there with assists in the top five, but he's just been incredible. He's top five in power play assists, game winning goals. He's number one. He's tied for second and first goals, second place in insurance goals as well. So he's also fourth in plus minus. So, I mean, again, we've all kind of been following along with Jagger Firkus. If you're not, follow CSS underscore futures. Boo, 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 boo. But yeah, it's been really incredible to see Firkus and what he's been able to do so far, what Moose Jaw is doing, and it'll be exciting when he comes up here to see him in game action. So we go over from the Kraken affiliate teams to the major junior teams around the area, starting off with our Seattle Thunderbirds, who had a decent start as well to the season, but have really come down to earth. And you're seeing with such a young team, seeing the inconsistency, seeing some of the struggles, seeing some of the growing pains that can be self-evident with this group. November 21st at the Tri-City Americans, in the first of 4 games over the past week for the Thunderbirds, was a shutout loss in Tri-City, so no player of the game there. They come back home to play Kelowna on the 22nd. They win this game in a tight 2-0 shutout. Our player of the game, goaltender Scott Ratsy, 19 saves on the game. Obviously, no goals allowed. That's a shutout. It's his 50th career win and his 7th all-time clean sheet. Nice there, with such a young group in front of Scott, and Scott still growing himself, it's kind of been tough to judge Ratzlaff. He's been playing a hell of a game, but the score doesn't always reflect that. And it's tough to put a lot of blame on Scott. So nice to see him get the shutout there. They continue it. It's a short 2-game homestand. The Thunderbirds lose on the 24th to the Saskatoon Blades by a score of 1-3. Our player of the game forward, Antonio Martirana. Martirana has been having a hell of a season so far. He gets the lone goal for Seattle there on one shot. To wrap up the week, the Thunderbirds were in Kelowna. It's the first of a lot of games at the end of November and the beginning of December for Seattle against Kelowna and the Rockets. November 25th at Kelowna was a 2-4 loss. Our player of the game, defenseman Sawyer Minio, the Canucks draft pick, with 1 goal, 1 plus minus, and 7 shots. That's largely told the story with the Thunderbirds. It's a young team. They're making mistakes. They're certainly learning from them. And you're seeing the growing pains, the inconsistency from them. They'll show a lot of good. There's a lot of good on this team, but still a lot to grow from, a lot to learn from. Also dealing with injuries. Jordan Gustafson had just come back. Grayson Sauchin had just come back. Nico Majatovic is working back. And that last game against Kelowna, they didn't have any of them. So those 3 notable players out for Seattle, still dealing with injuries. Sauchin had just come back from injury, and he's still dealing with stuff there. Gustafson had come back as well, still looking for his first goal of the season. So hopefully getting those back sooner rather than later for the Seattle team as they grow and learn from these some of these tough games. And team-related notes, continuing with that TSN top 50, former Thunderbird defenseman and Thunderbird defenseman and current Chicago at the NHL level defenseman Kevin Korchinski was named as the 37th player of 50 in TSN's top 50 under 24 players. So hats off to Kevin there. He's currently with the top power play unit on Chicago there and sitting on their second defenseman pairing. Also, On the 27th, the team signed goaltender Grayson Malinowski to a WHL scholarship and development agreement. The 16-year-old is from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. He currently sports a 2.29, ooh, a 2.29 GAA and a .934 save percentage through 9 games in the, bear with me, SMAAAHL. Ooh. So the Thunderbirds sit at a 10-10 record. Oh, Oh, no, that's right. I'm sorry. They've only got 1 game coming up, over the next week, pardon me. Uh, wow. The Thunderbirds only have 1 game coming up over the next week. English. Um, The 10-10 Thunderbirds with 21 points, 6th in the U.S. Division, 8th in the Western Conference, host the Kelowna Rockets. Yes, the Kelowna Rockets, December 2nd, with a 6:05 p.m. puck drop at the Showwear Center. This is the Thunderbirds teddy bear toss game, so it'll be fun to see all the Bears fly in there. Hopefully, it's early on, so they can get that out of the way. Hopefully, it doesn't take a while to launch those Bears. Speaking of Bears, the Everett Silvertips, who have had a strong start to the year, kept things rolling. They had a strong streak running. Starting this past week, November 22nd, versus the Saskatoon Blades, a 6-2 win. Our player of the game, defenseman Eric Jamieson. Jamieson, 1 goal, 3 assists, a 1+- and 4 shots on the day. They would keep that rolling against close rival Portland on November 24th with a 6-3 win. Our play of the game, center Teague Patton, a hat trick, 3 goals, 1+- 7 shots, winning 3 of 7 faceoffs. And then just to make it dramatic, they'd keep things going on the road at Kamloops on November 25th versus the Blazers, a 4-3 win in overtime with Teague Patton once again our player of the game. 1 goal, 1 assist, a 2+- 2 shots, and 2 of 5 faceoff wins. But the winning would end for Everett this week on November 27th on the road at Prince George with a 1-3 loss. Our player of the game forward, Bo Courtney. Courtney, 1 goal, 1+- 1 shot, and a 6 of 11 faceoff wins. So something to note there with that loss. They play Prince George again tonight. This is an Everett team that's got a strong group. There's some strong talent there. You're seeing kind of the depth of this team. Tyler Palmer and Ethan Chadwick have been strong in goal for them as well. And recently they got Caden Hamill back, who was a Kraken draft pick. So interesting there. We'll continue with the team notes. There's also a trade to look at for the Silvertips. November 22nd, we're continuing with the TSN there. Former Silvertips goaltender Dustin Wolf was named as the 22nd player in TSN's top 50 under 24 players to watch. So Wolfie gets an acknowledgement there. On the 23rd, as I mentioned, the team traded for forward Will Jamieson. Everett receives Will Jamieson, born in 2006, and the Spokane Chiefs receive a 2027 7th-round pick. To wrap up the team-related notes there, on the 26th, forward Ben Hemmerling officially signed his entry-level contract with the Las Vegas Golden Knights. A big moment, obviously, anytime an NHL draft pick officially signs that entry-level contract. It'll be interesting to see what that means for Hemmerling's timeline and when we may not see him in an Everett uniform anymore. So the Silvertips sit at a 16-9 record with 33 points, second in the U.S. division, third in the Western Conference of the Western Hockey League. Looking ahead, they have 3 games all on the road. First of which is tonight, November 28th at the Prince George Cougars. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop. Then December 1st, I jumped the gun. December 1st at the Edmonton Oil Kings is a 6 p.m. puck drop, ending it out with a second game of a back-to-back, December 2nd at the Red Deer Rebels. That is a 6 p.m. puck drop. So that will wrap it up for what we've got here for this week's episode of Futures Follow-Up. Excited to get this back rolling so we can get you a look at whether it be the Kraken prospects or a look around the major junior teams, whatever it may have you, the non-professional teams in the Seattle area. We will have that, continuing to do things that other outlets here, sports outlets, news outlets in the Seattle area aren't doing. Until we see you next week, take care of yourselves, be well, and do whatever you can to make today a great day.